The massive research vessel Light of Discovery drifted slowly through the debris field, its sensors probing the ancient wreckage that floated silently in the void. Among the predominantly blue-skinned alien crew, Tom Mason stood out, the only human aboard and somewhat of a curiosity himself. He watched the main display with growing excitement as the ship's beams illuminated something massive in the darkness. "Another piece of space junk," muttered First Officer Reed, his antenna twitching with disappointment. "Just like everything else in this sector." Tom leaned forward, squinting at the readings. "Wait, those dimensions. That's not random debris." His heart began to race as the light revealed more of the object. "That's a ship. A human ship." The bridge crew exchanged skeptical looks. Captain Bright, her crystalline skin reflecting the console lights, turned to face Tom. "Human. Out here. This sector wasn't colonized until 50 years ago." "Exactly," Tom said, pointing to the faint markings becoming visible on the hull. "This is old. Really old." He quickly tapped commands into his console, comparing the readings to historical databases. His eyes widened. "Captain, I think this is the U.S. Thunderchild." A ripple of laughter spread across the bridge. "The what?" Reed asked, mandibles clicking in amusement. "Sounds like something from a children's story." Tom ignored the mockery, too focused on the readings. She was one of Earth's first FTL-capable warships, built almost 300 years ago, during humanity's first expansion era. He looked up at the main screen with reverence. She vanished during the colony wars. Everyone thought she was destroyed. Captain Bright studied the ancient vessel thoughtfully. 300 years. It's a miracle there's anything left to find. She gestured to their own sleek ship, technology that old barely qualifies as spaceworthy by modern standards. The science officer, Dr. Glow, chuckled as he analyzed the scan results. "Look at this primitive armor plating. And these weapon mounts, they appear to be simple kinetic accelerators. How did humans ever survive space combat with such basic technology?" "We managed," Tom said quietly, remembering his grandfather's stories of the early days. "Those primitive ships helped establish the first human colonies. They fought pirates, protected merchants, explored unknown space. Well, now it's just a floating museum piece," Reed declared. "Hardly worth our time. We should mark its location and continue our survey of the sector." But Captain Bright saw the look in Tom's eyes. Despite her own doubts about the value of such an ancient vessel, she recognized the importance of preserving historical artifacts. "Prepare a boarding team," she ordered. "Let's at least document this find properly. Mr. Mason, since you're our resident human expert, you'll lead the expedition." Tom could barely contain his excitement as he donned his environmental suit. The Thunderchild was a legend, a ship from humanity's golden age of exploration. Even if she was just a derelict now, the chance to walk her halls was the opportunity of a lifetime. The boarding shuttle approached carefully, its lights illuminating the massive hull. Despite 3 centuries of exposure to space, the ship's lines were still proud and purposeful. The name USTUND or CHILD was barely visible beneath layers of cosmic dust, but the hull number NC-721 stood out clearly against the dark metal. "Amazing construction," Tom muttered, running his scanner over the hull plates. "Look at these welds. They've held perfectly for 300 years. Crude, but effective, I suppose," Dr. Glow commented, his environmental suit glowing softly in the darkness. Though modern molecular bonding would be far superior. They found an intact airlock and began the docking procedure. As the team prepared to board, Tom couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to this ship than met the eye. The Thunderchild had been one of the most advanced vessels of her era. Her disappearance had spawned countless theories and legends. As the airlock cycled, Tom remembered an old saying from the academy: "Never underestimate old technology. It survived long enough to become old for a reason." He had no idea how prophetic those words would prove to be. The exploration team had spent 6 hours documenting the Thunderchild's empty corridors when the first alarm echoed through their comms. Tom's head snapped up from the ancient console he'd been studying in the ship's engineering section. "Emergency alert," Captain Bright's voice crackled through their comms. "Multiple vessels just dropped out of FTL. Unknown signatures. All teams return to the asterisk light of Discovery asterisk immediately. Probably just merchants," Dr. Glow said, but his bioluminescent skin had dimmed noticeably. A sign of anxiety in his species. The deck beneath them shuddered. A distant boom echoed through the hull. Tom's stomach dropped. That wasn't the sound of friendly ships arriving. "This is Captain Bright. We are under attack. Raiders, at least 6 heavy warships. Our shields are." Static cut through the transmission. Tom and his team raced back toward their shuttle, magnetic boots clanking against the metal deck plates. Through the ancient viewports, they could see flashes of weapons fire illuminating the darkness of space. The asterisk light of Discovery asterisk was trying to maneuver, but 2 of its engines were already dark. "This is Raider Command." A new voice cut through their comms, harsh and demanding. "Your ships are disabled. Surrender and prepare to be boarded. Resist, and we will destroy you." Tom's mind raced. The asterisk light of Discovery asterisk was a research vessel, barely armed. The 2 escort ships were light frigates, no match for 6 heavy raiders. They were trapped. "The shuttle," Dr. Glow shouted as they reached the airlock. "We can hide aboard the human relic until help arrives." "Negative," came Captain Bright's voice, weaker now. "They're jamming our distress calls. No help is coming. All hands, prepare for boarding." Tom stopped at the airlock, staring at the shuttle, then back down the dark corridor of the Thunderchild. A crazy idea began to form. "Dr. Glow," he said slowly, "what if we didn't hide?" The alien scientist's skin flashed in confusion. "What do you mean?" "The raiders haven't targeted the Thunderchild. They probably think it's just debris, like everyone else did." Tom turned to face the team. "But she's a warship. Was a warship. Maybe she still is." "That's insane." Dr. Glow's skin pulsed rapidly. "This ship is 3 centuries old. Even if we could power it up, which we can't, it would be suicide to fight modern warships with this antique." Another explosion lit up space. The asterisk light of Discovery's asterisk last engine died. "We don't have a choice," Tom said firmly. "I found the engineering manual in the database earlier. The reactor is intact. It's just powered down. These old ships were built to last, built to be repairable in the field, with minimal resources." "You're actually serious?" Reed's voice came through the comms. He had stayed aboard the research vessel. "You want to fight raiders with a museum piece?" "Better than surrender," Tom replied. "Captain, request permission to attempt reactivation of the Thunderchild." There was a long pause. They could hear the raiders demanding surrender again in the background. "Granted," Captain Bright said finally. "We have nothing to lose. But Mason, if you power up that ship, they'll notice. You'll have 1 chance at best." "Understood." Tom turned to his team. "Dr. Glow, I need your help in engineering. Your knowledge of power systems might help, even with this primitive technology. The rest of you, find the weapon control room. Look for anything marked Fire Control or Combat Information Center." As the team split up, Tom took one last look through the viewport at the raider ships. They were sleek, modern vessels bristling with energy weapons and shield projectors. Against the Thunderchild's ancient armor and kinetic weapons, they would seem impossibly advanced. But Tom remembered something else his grandfather used to say. The most dangerous weapon isn't always the most advanced one. It's the one your enemy doesn't see coming. He smiled grimly and headed toward engineering. It was time to wake up this old warrior and remind the galaxy why human warships were built to last. Engineering was a massive chamber dominated by the Thunderchild's fusion reactor. a towering cylinder of dark metal surrounded by cooling pipes and power conduits. Tom's flashlight beam played across status panels covered in dust. "This technology is so basic," Dr. Glow muttered, scanning the machinery. "Simple magnetic containment, primitive thermal regulation, nothing like our quantum cascade reactors." "Basic isn't always bad," Tom replied, wiping decades of dust from a control panel. "Look at these backup systems. Triple redundancy on everything. Manual overrides. Physical controls instead of pure software. They built this ship to survive anything." The Raiders' ultimatum echoed through their comms again. 5 minutes to surrender, or we start executing crew members. Tom's fingers flew across the ancient keyboards. The reactor's intact. Fuel cells are still at 60%. These old designs barely lose any charge over time. He pointed to a massive lever on the wall. "Dr. Glow, when I say now, pull that emergency startup handle." "This is madness," Dr. Glow said, but he moved to the lever. "Even if we power up the reactor, the computer systems will never work. The data crystals must have degraded centuries ago." Tom smiled as he input the final startup sequence. "Wrong again. Humans didn't use crystals back then. We used hardened quantum storage, built to survive electromagnetic pulses, radiation, anything an enemy could throw at it." He hit the enter key. "Now." Dr. Glow pulled the lever. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, with a deep rumble that shook the deck plates, the fusion reactor began to spin up. Emergency lights flickered to life throughout the ship. The massive engine room displays lit up one by one, status indicators changing from red to yellow to green. "Main power online," a calm female voice announced through the ship's speakers. "All systems entering startup sequence. Warning, combat damage detected in sections 12 through 15. Backup systems engage." "It actually works," Dr. Glow whispered, his skin glowing brightly in amazement. "Engineering, this is fire control," one of their team called over the comms. "We've got lights up here. Weapons systems are starting their boot sequence." "Impossible," Dr. Glow exclaimed, checking his scanner. "These weapon systems should have decayed to uselessness centuries ago." Tom laughed as he ran diagnostic checks. "You don't understand how we built ships back then. Everything's mechanically isolated, vacuum-sealed. The weapon systems are simple railguns, just magnets and metal. No delicate parts to break down." The ship's voice spoke again. "Main computer online. I-core integration complete. Warning, 314 years, 157 days have passed since last activation. Request command authorization." Tom straightened up. This was the moment of truth. "Computer, recognize Mason. Thomas P. Earth Fleet Reserve. Emergency Command Protocol 77 Alpha." There was a pause. "Processing. DNA scan confirmed. Partial match to Admiral James Mason in historical database. Given emergency conditions, command authority granted." The voice seemed to become more alive, more aware. "I am Admiral, the Thunderchild's combat eye. Status report. Ship is at 68% combat readiness. Main weapons operational. Point defense grid at 90%. Hull integrity stable." Dr. Glow's scanner clattered to the deck. A true AI. From 3 centuries ago. How did we not detect it? "Because you weren't looking for it," Tom said, climbing into the engineering command chair. "Admiral, situation report. We have hostile raiders demanding surrender from a research vessel. No reinforcements available. We are severely outgunned by modern warships." "Understood," Admiral replied. Analyzing tactical situation. Modern warships rely heavily on energy shields and electronic warfare. Recommendation: use our apparent defunct status to achieve surprise. Our kinetic weapons will be especially effective. Enemy shields are optimized for energy weapons. The raider's voice cut in again. "Time's up. Prepare to witness the consequences of your defiance." "Admiral," Tom commanded, his voice hard. Begin silent combat prep. Divert power to weapons and engines. Keep our power signature minimal until my mark. He switched to the team's comm channel. Everyone strap in. This is going to get interesting. The deck thrummed beneath them as the ancient warship quietly prepared for battle. Dr. Glow looked at Tom with new respect. Perhaps, he admitted, we were too quick to dismiss your primitive technology. Tom smiled grimly as he watched the power readings climb. That's a lesson raiders are about to learn the hard way. Power spike detected. The raider commander's voice crackled through the comms. Something's happening on that derelict ship. Tom sat straight in the command chair, now relocated to the bridge. Around him, status displays glowed with renewed life. The bridge, unlike modern ships with their holographic interfaces, was filled with physical controls and sturdy screens built to work even under heavy damage. "Admiral," Tom called out, "time for proper introductions. Tell me about yourself." The AI's voice was calm but carried a hint of pride. U.S. Thunderchild, Earth Fleet Designation NC-721. Commission 2784, veteran of 16 major engagements during the colony wars. Primary mission, protection of human space and colonies. Last recorded action, defending the Marcus colony from pirate forces. Dr. Glow worked frantically at an engineering station, his skin pulsing with nervous light. The raiders are scanning us. Their sensors are far more advanced than anything this ship could hide from. Let them look, Tom said with a slight smile. Admiral, are you familiar with the story of the Trojan horse? Affirmative. Ancient Earth military strategy. Deception through perceived weakness. The AI paused, analyzing parallel to current situation. Recommendation: maintain minimal power signature until optimal firing position is achieved. The Raiders' flagship was turning toward them now. Unidentified vessel, power down immediately or be destroyed. This is your only warning. Tom watched the tactical display. The enemy ships were spreading out, trying to surround them. But they were moving cautiously, unsure what to make of the suddenly active derelict. Their uncertainty was buying precious time. Enemy vessels using standard Galactic Union command protocols, Admiral reported. Their communications are encrypted with modern quantum algorithms. However, there was a note of satisfaction in the AI's voice. Their tactical data is being transmitted using standard compression, easy to intercept with our systems. Dr. Glow looked up in surprise. But that's impossible. Our quantum encryption is unbreakable. Maybe to modern computers, Tom explained. But Admiral isn't trying to break the encryption. She's reading the raw data packets, something so primitive that modern ships don't even guard against it anymore. A warning tone sounded. One of the Raider ships had launched a probe toward them. Detecting scan attempt, Admiral announced. Their systems are trying to interface with ours, unable to connect due to hardware incompatibility. Tom grinned. Sometimes being outdated has its advantages. We're so old, their modern hacking tools can't even talk to our systems. The probe's powerful scanners swept over the Thunderchild. Tom could almost imagine the Raiders' confusion as they tried to make sense of what they were seeing. Ancient but functioning technology, systems that shouldn't work but somehow did, and a ship that was very much alive. "Sir," one of the alien crew members called from the weapons station. "All main guns report ready. Point defense grid is online." But he hesitated. These targeting systems are completely manual. There's no AI assistance, no predictive algorithms. "That's because we don't need them," Tom replied. "Admiral, show them our targeting solution." The main screen lit up with a complex web of trajectories. The AI had calculated firing solutions that accounted for every piece of debris in the field, using them as cover and potential shields. "By the stars," Dr. Glow whispered. "The computing power needed for those calculations." "How?" "I am purpose-built for combat," Admiral stated simply. "My processors may be older, but they are dedicated entirely to warfare. Modern ships split their computing power among thousands of comfort and convenience systems. The raiders were done waiting. Their flagship's weapons were powering up, energy readings climbing. "They're going to fire," Dr. Glow warned. "Their weapons are at least 3 generations ahead of anything this ship was designed to face." Tom's hands gripped the armrests of his chair. The moment of truth had arrived. "Admiral, are we ready?" "All systems prepared, weapons locked, engines at full power." The AI's voice carried the weight of centuries of combat experience. "Awaiting your command, Captain." Tom took a deep breath. The raiders thought they were facing the helpless Relic. It was time to show them just how wrong they were. "Admiral, wake up the old girl. Let's show them how Earth built warships." The raider flagship fired first, a brilliant beam of plasma that lit up space like an artificial sun. Tom felt the deck shudder as Admiral executed a hard burn, using one of the larger pieces of debris as a shield. The plasma beam hit the debris, turning it to vapor instantly. "Primitive evasive maneuvers complete," Admiral announced, almost sounding smug. "Enemy targeting systems predicted we would dodge according to modern naval doctrine. They did not expect us to simply hide behind debris." "Return fire," Tom ordered. "Show them what those obsolete weapons can do." The Thunderchild's main guns roared to life. There was nothing elegant about their function. They were simply electromagnetic rails that hurled chunks of metal at incredible speeds. The Raiders' flagship didn't even bother raising shields against such basic weapons. That was their first mistake. The tungsten slugs crossed the space between ships in seconds. They slammed into the flagship's hull, designed to deflect energy weapons but not solid projectiles. The impact tore through armor plates and sent the larger ship spinning. "Direct hits confirmed," Admiral reported. Enemy vessels' energy shields were calibrated for plasma dispersion. They were ineffective against kinetic penetrators. "Impossible." The Raider commander's voice blazed through the comms. "All ships, full attack pattern. Destroy that Relic." 5 Raider ships turned their guns on the Thunderchild. The space around them lit up with energy weapons, plasma beams, laser arrays, and particle cannons. But the old warship was already moving, engines burning hot as it weaved through the debris field. "Hull temperature rising," Dr. Glow reported, his skin flashing with stress patterns. "These armor plates can't possibly hold against modern weapons." "Wrong again," Tom said as another blast splashed across their bow. "Look at the redouts. The armor isn't just metal. It's layered. The outer layer absorbs the energy. Old tech, but effective." Admiral's voice cut in. "Detecting enemy electronic warfare attack. They are attempting to disable our systems with electromagnetic pulses." Tom actually laughed. "Admiral, show them why that's not going to work." "Affirmative. All systems functioning normally." Note: this vessel was designed to resist nuclear detonations. Contemporary electronic warfare is insufficient. The Thunderchild's point defense grid activated next. Simple rotary guns that filled space with clouds of metal fragments. A Raider ship that ventured too close found its delicate sensor arrays shredded. "They're coordinating their attack," Dr. Glow warned. "Moving to surround us." "Admiral, implement Battle Plan Delta," Tom commanded. "Let's show them some real Earth fleet tactics." The AI's response was immediate. The Thunderchild's engines fired in a complex pattern, using the debris field like a naval battleground. They didn't try to outrun the Raiders. Instead, they turned to face them head-on. "Are you insane?" Dr. Glow's skin was practically strobing now. "They outnumber us 5-1. "Numbers don't matter," Tom replied calmly. "Admiral, target their engines. Fire when ready." The main guns spoke again. 1, 2, 3 shots per ship. The Raiders tried to dodge, but Admiral's targeting solutions were perfect. Their modern engines, optimized for efficiency, proved fragile against the brutal simplicity of hypersonic metal slugs. "Multiple impacts confirmed," Admiral reported. 3 enemy vessels have lost main propulsion. Their formations are breaking down." The Raider commander was screaming orders now. His previous confidence shattered. Fall back. Fall back. How is this happening? It's just one obsolete ship. This obsolete ship, Tom broadcast back, has survived centuries in space. It was built when humanity was fighting for its survival, not its comfort. Everything on this ship serves one purpose: to win battles. As if to emphasize his point, the Thunderchild's broadside guns opened up, filling space with another barrage of kinetic projectiles. A raider ship's shield flared and died, unable to cope with the physical impacts. Enemy fleet combat effectiveness reduced by 60%, Admiral announced. They are beginning to retreat. Tom smiled grimly. Not yet. They're not. Admiral, prepare for close-range engagement. Let's finish this fight properly. The ancient warship turned toward the remaining raiders, its engines glowing like the eyes of an awakened predator. It was time to show these pirates why human warships were built to last, and why they were built to win. From the bridge of the disabled Light of Discovery Captain Bright and her crew watched in amazement as the ancient human warship fought. The Thunderchild moved like a dancer through space, each movement precise and purposeful, nothing wasted. Look at those impact patterns, First Officer Reed whispered, his antenna twitching in disbelief. That old ship isn't just fighting. It's predicting exactly where to hit them. Another raider vessel tried to circle behind the Thunderchild. Without warning, the human ship's rear guns opened up, catching the raider in a deadly crossfire. The primitive rounds shredded through the modern vessel's engine housing. Enemy vessel attempting to deploy boarding pods, Admiral reported on the Thunderchild. Curious. They believe close combat will favor them. Tom smiled. Show them why that's a mistake. Activate close defense protocols. The raiders had expected to find point defense lasers or energy screens. Instead, they found themselves flying into clouds of superheated metal pellets from rotating defense guns. Their boarding pods, designed to breach energy shields, were torn apart by the simple brutality of thousands of hypervelocity projectiles. How? Dr. Glow's voice was filled with wonder as he studied the tactical displays. Those defense guns, they're not even powered. They're using the momentum of the shells themselves to rotate the barrels. Mechanical automation, Tom explained. No electronics to fail, no software to hack. Just physics and engineering. The raider commander's voice cut through their comms again. But this time it held a note of panic. Fall back. Regroup at Point Delta. Our shields can't handle this type of weapon. Their ships are designed for energy weapon combat, Admiral observed. Their tactical doctrine assumes battles will be fought with lasers and plasma at long range. They have no counter for close-range kinetic warfare. On the Light of Discovery's bridge, Reed suddenly understood. Their entire defense strategy. It's all built around stopping energy weapons. They've forgotten about physical projectiles entirely. The Thunderchild pressed its advantage. Its main guns fired again, not at the raiders' ships, but at a large piece of debris nearby. The impact shattered the debris into thousands of pieces, creating a deadly cloud of shrapnel that the raiders' shields couldn't stop. 2 more enemy vessels disabled, Admiral reported, detecting multiple hull breaches across their fleet. They are losing atmosphere. The raiders tried one last desperate tactic. Their remaining ships launched a barrage of electronic warfare drones, filling space with jamming signals and cyber attack programs. Warning, Admiral announced, but her voice carried a hint of amusement. Enemy attempting to hack our targeting systems. Their modern programs are unable to interface with our architecture. Further attempts may cause their own systems to crash. Tom laughed. You can't hack vacuum tubes and mechanical computers. Admiral, show them what real targeting looks like. The Thunderchild's next salvo demonstrated the difference between modern automation and true combat experience. While the raiders' sophisticated targeting computers struggled with the debris field, Admiral simply calculated trajectories that used the debris as additional weapons. From the Light of Discovery Captain Bright watched as pieces of space junk, precisely hit by the Thunderchild's guns, became impromptu missiles that slammed into the raiders from unexpected angles. It's not just about the technology, she realized aloud. That ship, it thinks like a warrior. Every shot, every maneuver. It's not fighting the way modern ships do. It's fighting to win, no matter what it takes. The raiders' formation had completely broken down. Their remaining ships were trying to flee, but their engines, damaged by precise hits from the Thunderchild's guns, couldn't generate enough power for FTL jumps. Enemy fleet combat effectiveness reduced to 15%. Admiral reported. They are signaling surrender. Tom nodded grimly. Send to all vessels. Power down weapons and prepare to be boarded. This time, we'll do the boarding. As the Thunderchild moved to secure its victory, Dr. Glow looked at Tom with new respect. I understand now, he said quietly. Your ancestors didn't build this ship to be advanced. They built it to survive. To win. Exactly, Tom replied, watching as the raiders began powering down their ships. Sometimes the old ways are the best ways, not because they're perfect, but because they're proven. 3 days after the battle, the Asterisk Light of Discovery's Asterisk repair crews were finishing their work. The research vessel's engines hummed with renewed life, while the captured raider ships floated nearby under guard. But all eyes kept drifting to the Thunderchild, now proudly displaying her ancient Earth fleet colors. Captain Bright stood on her bridge, watching as teams of engineers swarmed over the old warship. What had started as a simple archaeological expedition had turned into something much more significant. The Galactic Union's Warship Design Committee is requesting all our scanned data of the Thunderchild, Reed reported, his antenna twitching with amusement. Apparently, they're very interested in what they're calling retrograde combat engineering. Send them everything, Bright ordered. They need to understand what we learned here. She turned to Tom, who was examining readouts from the old ship. And what exactly did we learn, Mr. Mason? Tom looked up from his work. That sometimes simpler is better. Modern ships are marvels of technology, but they're also incredibly complex. One good hit to their quantum computers, and they lose everything. Weapons, shields, life support. He gestured at the Thunderchild. But this old warrior, she could lose half her systems and still fight. Dr. Glow, who hadn't left the old ship since the battle, rushed onto the bridge. His skin was pulsing with excitement. Captain, you need to see this. We've been studying the Thunderchild's maintenance logs. Do you know why she disappeared all those centuries ago? She was protecting the Marcus colony. Admiral's voice answered through the comms. Pirates attacked with overwhelming force. The colony's defenses were failing. So I implemented Emergency Protocol Omega. She used her FTL drive to jump into the middle of the pirate fleet, Tom explained. The energy discharge disabled most of their ships, but it also damaged her own drive beyond repair. She's been drifting ever since, waiting to be found. Captain Bright shook her head in amazement. All this time, we thought human ships were primitive because they were simple, but they were simple because it worked. Indeed, Admiral agreed. My creators understood that the most advanced solution is not always the best solution. They built me to fight, to protect, to survive. Everything else was secondary. The Thunderchild's point defense guns rotated silently, their simple mechanical systems still perfectly functional after centuries in space. Modern engineers were studying them intently, amazed by their reliability. The raid commander finally talked. Reed reported. Said they targeted us because modern research vessels are easy prey. All their defensive systems can be hacked or overloaded. He laughed. He still can't believe they were defeated by a museum piece. Speaking of museums, Captain Bright turned to Tom. The Earth Fleet Historical Division is sending a ship. They want to recover the Thunderchild, preserve her for future generations. No, Tom's voice was firm. Admiral, show them your latest scan results. The ship's AI displayed a hologram of the surrounding sector. Long-range sensors detect increased radar activity in nearby systems. 3 colonies have requested assistance. Modern patrol ships are effective, but raiders have learned to hack their defenses. Captain Bright's eyes widened as she understood. You want to keep her in service. After all this time, she was built to protect human colonies, Tom said simply. That mission never ended. Admiral, are you willing to return to active duty? My weapons are functional. My armor is intact. My duty is clear. The old AI's voice carried centuries of determination. I will serve. The gathered crew watched as the Thunderchild's engines glowed brighter, her ancient hull gleaming under the starlight. She was no longer a relic to be mocked, but a warrior whose worth had been proven in battle once again. Besides, Tom added with a smile, someone needs to remind the galaxy that humanity didn't survive by building perfect ships. We survived by building ships that never quit. As if in response, the Thunderchild's running lights came on, illuminating her name and hull number. She looked not like a museum piece, but like what she truly was, a warship ready to defend human space once more. Some things the galaxy had learned only got better with age.